just looking for hope, yeah. I worked on myself, learned a few lessons. Without you, I spread my wings to the heavens. But where did you go when I was down and I needed you most, yeah? It was long days and long nights, battling with demons, so tired from the fights, yeah. I was struggling to make ends meet, thought I had you on my team, now the feeling's bittersweet, cause I look back now, and it looks different. I was trying to win for us, but you had a different mission. Just listen, I fought hard every day. You gave away someone who would follow you into the grave. Where did you go when I was down and I needed you most, yeah? Where did you go when I was alone, just looking for hope, yeah? I worked on myself, learned a few lessons. Without you, I spread my wings to the heavens. But where did you go when I was down and I needed you most, yeah? Life's looking good now, cut out the negative. It stays away if you make sure not to let it in. A different purpose, I'm a different person. I've been working on myself, built a new version. The best revenge is having success, so what's next? Goddamn, I've been feeling real blessed to be alive, to be in this life. I got a new chance to move on and thrive. So I'll stay strong, I'll live life, I'll be wrong, I'll be right. I'll work hard, see new sights. I'll look deep, yeah, inside. And I'll never look back with any regret. I always tried, always did my best. Pass or fail, at least I took the test. Now I'm just ready for what's next. Let's go! Where did you go when I was down and I needed you most, yeah? Where did you...
You know, I like everything about that song except when the saxophone comes on. I just feel that this just doesn't fit. You know what I mean? All right. We are going to be doing some pre-gaming for next week. We're also going to make up for last night's terrible, terrible episode. I have stricken it from the internet. It no longer exists. Just to give you a heads up, there's some changes at a place where I used to work. I was given the heads up if I want to apply to go back after the regime change. And the people who are interested in me returning bought me beers, and they bought me too many, I would say. Um, I was drinking Guinness. I was drinking the Tall Boys, which Tall Boys are basically like 2 servings. So I drank 5 of those, which means for me that means like it's about 10 beers. And considering I don't normally drink, yeah, it hit me pretty hard. Luckily, no hangover today, so there's that. But today, right now, we're going to go over a few things. And this little girl is misbehaving. I have another cat who's been my cat for a very long time, much longer than this cat. And she is picking a fight with him today. No. Don't run away. Let them see your shame. Let them see that you're a mean, evil cat today. Look up here. Can you look up here? Look up here. Hey, look at the audience. Say hi to the audience. Say hi. Anyway, she's misbehaving today. That's okay. Anyway, we are going to be... Ooh, that's not right. Hold on. By the way, I did notice on a rewatch today of one of my previous streams, there's some sound issues. So if you're not able to hear me, or if my volume is way too low compared to the volume of our watch along, let me know while you're in the chat. Okay, let me know. Let me see. Let me see if there's anything that I want to watch that's not on my planned watch right now. On my plan to watch. I don't know. No, I'm not going to watch or listen to the Destiny thing. I've already said I refuse to support him. So I'm not going to ever, after what he said after the attempted assassination attempt, there is no way I'm supporting him ever. So if he's on your show, I will not be watching that episode. I'm not going to unsubscribe from you, but I won't be watching the episode that he's on. And if I ever get famous enough to go on other people's shows, if he's a guest on that show at the same time as me, I will not be on that show. I will not support him in any kind of way. That includes opposing him, because I don't want any kind of funding to go to him. I'm not canceling him. I just don't want to deal with him. Apologia, how to beat the world's #1 atheist. I don't really care about that. Let me see. Okay, I don't see anything there. Let me see if there's anything on my subscriptions that I want to do before we get into the videos I have picked out for this week. So just to give you guys a breakdown of where I stand politically, I am pro free speech. I'm pro gun rights. Pro religion. I stand with the Catholic Church and its political stances, which aren't many, but they are very strong and are very powerful, very vocal on their political stances. So that's where I'm at on all of that. Anyone else have an opinion on Dragon Age, by the way, before we get into any of the good stuff? My goodness, is that game getting a lot of crap. You know what? Before we get into... See, I knew I was going to find something before we get into the political stuff. I already found one. Let me see if there's anything else that I want to touch on. Yeah, so we're going to do we're going to do Ruslan on Pornhub. We'll do that. I know I can't say the P word, so I just made this video unmonetizable. It's fine. And we're going to do polyamory. And then we'll get into other stuff as well. Again, this is political pregame, so anyone who comes in and wants to talk politics, I'm available. All right, let's do this. Do 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 do.
Hello, everyone. My name is Evie Lupine. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you.
I seriously thought this was an advertisement for Roots, and I'm like, wow, that's way more political than I wanted to get.
Well, today we are going to be doing part 3 of my now 3-part series where I discuss how I got into various aspects of my alternative life, because apparently I am pretty different from the norm, and it might be helpful for folks who are going through that journey now to hear about my early mistakes as well as my early successes, to know what to do for their own adventures and for their own self-discovery. And before, I've talked about how I got into BDSM as well as how I got into DS or power exchange. And today I want to focus on how I got into polyamory. And with BDSM and with DS, those were things.
So I think I've shared on here before that I have been. Ooh, I forgot how to speak proper English. That I have participated. That's not the right term. I've been in 3 polyamorous relationships. Technically 4, but one of them was with the same 2 other people. So it was anyway. So I was. We'll do as she gets into her stuff, I'll get into mine. I don't plan on watching her whole video. Like I said, we're doing political warm up here, so I kind of want to touch on the JD Vance, what's a normal gay person thing. We'll get into that when we get to it. I don't know if I'm going to play the clip because I don't want Joe Rogan to come after my channel.
Things I knew I was into fairly early on, like not elementary school age, but by the time I was in high school, I was fairly aware that my interests were pretty different from other people for my romantic relationships.
I was aware of my proclivities by junior high.
I didn't realize at that time you could do BDSM.
I had a thing for vampires, and I had a thing for girls who were taller than me. And for a very long time, I was into very skinny people. So that was kind of my go to. I liked models. I know you say what guy doesn't, but where I'm from, the model body type is not the norm and it's not attractive. The area that I'm from, people like larger women, not like large, but larger women, like larger than the American norm. And I've always been into more of the gothy, ethereal, spooky kind of female, as well as athletic. I like athletic women as well.
I thought it was all a fantasy thing that people wrote about and they thought about it, but in your actual relationship, everything kind of could only go one way and you just
No,
like
it's too tight.
played with different ideas. It's like a fun thing. I don't know why I
How does
thought
it look?
that, but that's what I thought. Whereas with
Oh,
polyamory, my
can I just
journey into that was a
can you put it
lot
on wrong?
more abrupt and was like,
Oh
oh,
no.
I had no idea whatsoever this was even an option because with BDSM, even if the representation for it was not very good, it was still out there. Like, it was a thing that you knew existed as an option. You know, there were movies like Secretary out, there were references to it in various other pieces of media.
So I think either I was 17 or 18 the first time that I was like confronted with the BDSM lifestyle. It was a friend of mine who she would pour melted wax on her boyfriends, and then she'd keep the wax in a jar in her closet. That's what she was into. She's now a mother of two, and she's very happy and very happily married, by the way. Still into the same stuff, though.
It was a known thing. It didn't always get talked about accurately, but it was something you at least even heard there was a term for. Whereas with polyamory, and this could be
And my introduction to that was the HBO Real Sex series.
because of where I grew up, how I was raised, I don't know. Maybe other people knew about this, but I never heard anything about non-monogamy and polyamory. And being someone who was a child in the very late
It's
90s
the
into the early
the image that's
2000s and the
messing me up.
2010s, I just never heard anything about polyamory or non-monogamy. And all of the media from that time period, it seemed there was a high number of love triangle type plot lines in movies, like probably most famously Twilight, right? And with that representation, it was very obvious from the get-go that it was not even really a love triangle. It was just one obvious.
So for me, my introduction to that was in the early 90s, actually. Um, so let me see. So I've been in two triads and one cube, I guess polycube. Polycube. It's just four people, that's all that means. And the triads was me and two girls, or two women, I guess I should say. Um, and the polycube, um, it was me and my girlfriend, and then a girlfriend and her boyfriend. And that one was the first one and didn't work out. It didn't last longer than a weekend. I used to have like what I call the 3 date curse, where on the third date everything would fall apart. But the girl was beautiful, so of course when she suggested I join their group, I agreed, but it didn't work out very well. Um, the last one lasted a really long time, and there was a breakup in the middle because the girl that she was dating broke up with her, and she went through a depression, and we got back together. But when we got back together, it didn't really work as well as it did the first time. So, but yeah, I was in poly relationships for a good 10 years of my life in my 20s. In my 20s, not in my 30s, and now I'm in my 40s, so it doesn't even matter. But yeah, so this is not unheard of for me. This is not new for me. Um, as for the FET community, I'm familiar with that too, thanks to that, to at least one of those relationships. So yeah, No, this is nothing new for me.
one true pairing and then like a side character that was kind of dangled around for plot reasons just to have something happen. I'm probably
that
going to
look?
get like Twilight haters and Twilight lovers in my comments about this. But I haven't watched or read any Twilight media, and so I thought.
Really? The Poly video gets an orca thing? Free Corky? Okay. Where did you go? Do 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 do.
The love triangle thing happened, I guess. I was the hinge of my own love triangle at one point in time. And they both came to me and were like, hey, I want you to only see me and not the other person. And then I had to pick between the two of them, and I did. And, I didn't really regret that in a massive.
I'll be really blunt. The relationships, the first one didn't go well, but that's because all of us were too immature. We were all like 18, 19. That's why the polycule didn't work. The second one, I don't really remember. It was unmemorable. But the third one, which is also the fourth one, that one worked out really, really well for a really long time. And in all of these relationships, it didn't fall apart because of any kind of drama. Thank goodness. Although, like I said, the third one, which is also the fourth one, the first time that we kind of drifted apart, there was drama between two of the girls, and pretty much what ended the relationships is that the two girls would end up bickering because one of the girls would end up meeting another girl, and jealousy would arrive that way. Not jealousy. Jealousy is the wrong word, but a lack of feeling important in the relationship would happen to one person in the relationship, and that would be enough to end everything. I was really big into that time into sexology, and there's a really great poly podcast that I was listening to like get hints and tips. Of course, there's Tristan Taormino, which is everyone's go-to. But what was it? Was it Pucker? Was it Pucker Up? Puckering Up? Let me look it up. Hold on. I'll let her keep talking while I look this up.
Way, I feel like to a certain extent, the relationship I had with the person who was my trainer had kind of run its course, but I did still wish there was some kind of opportunity to maintain that connection. And there was not resentment per se, but I always was left wondering, why was this the only way that this could happen? Because of course, with again, society and culture and modeling I had seen, there was not another option, but just something about it, like when it was working, it was fine. Like, at least as far as I know, and I was not in the either party's heads, but with the communication and everything else, it seemed like, for the most part, we weren't stepping on toes, we weren't having any big arguments, and like it kind of seemed like it could be something that eventually could grow into
And
something.
I think it is very interesting that JD Vance and in a way Trump himself are kind of making gestures to the poly kink community. JD Vance is he's clearly he knows what lolly is. He knows what anime and manga is. He's Catholic, but he has a history. He has a goon couch. So no, he's been in the life. So I think that's interesting. He has gay friends, and he's reaching out to his gay friends and gay audience to vote for him and Trump. So I do think that's an interesting turn and twist with the politics in the moment, and we'll get into that with Lila Rose later on in this show. Yes, we're gonna go deep. We're gonna go heavy. I know we're starting off fluffy and silly and pervy, but we'll get into the heavy stuff.
Something longer term. But we didn't have any language for this. We didn't have any education. So I'm sure there's many mistakes that happened. I'm not recalling, but it seemed like it could have been sustainable for a lot longer. So I always had that question in the back of my head. And then when I was in my DS relationship with the person I ended up staying with, I eventually ended up graduating from college and I moved away and I got a job that was, I don't know, like a while away, let's say, from where I had lived before. And my DS partner had stayed in that previous town, and because of various issues, they could not come to see me, like basically at all. I had to go up and see them, and it was a big strain. And like many people who have a relationship that they know is kind of falling apart, but they don't really want to admit to it and they don't really want to fully say goodbye, they think, oh, we can open our relationship. And I'm not sure now how I knew what an open relationship was. I'm not sure where I got that idea, but I was not fully aware of like polyamory on the whole yet. I think maybe I had heard it
There
in
we
like
go.
conversations about like,
So the podcast that I used to listen to back in my early 20s that apparently may or may not still be around. I don't think it is. Let me see. Do they still have? I think the last episode. It looks like the last episode was in 2021, but it was Polyamory Weekly. So that's the show that I used to listen to for my polyamory advice back when I was into polyamory. Um, ha, that's funny. That is, it's old, man. Let me see. Yeah, minx. Okay.
bisexuality and like being able to date people of different genders at the same time. Maybe that's where I got it from. Probably something from Tumblr, maybe. There's sexuality. I got that idea, but I was not fully aware of like polyamory on the whole yet. I think maybe I had heard it in like conversations about like bisexuality and like being able to date people of different gender.
Couldn't hear, though.
Not sure. I don't really want to fully say goodbye. They think, oh, we can open our relationship. And I'm not sure now how I knew what an open relationship was. I'm not sure where I got that idea, but I heard to date people of different gender. I don't know. That's probably where it came from.
It was probably Tumblr. Like I said, for me, it was HBO's Real Sex series. That's where I learned all this stuff for the first time. And then I read some sexology books. And believe it or not, especially in high school, but also in junior high, I would read Teen Vogue and 17 magazine. And those articles had a lot of sex positive stuff in there that had a lot of this terminology there. And so when I don't know, somewhere between 16 and 19, when I got into the actual science of sexology, I I use those as references to find what books to read on the topic of human sexuality. So,
And so I ended up actually at the very end of our
and also old school pro sex positive websites that don't exist anymore, and they would give you sex terms and terms of STDs and STIs and proper way of speaking, and I guess PC speak or whatever woke speak you want to think about pre woke. This is like I'm talking about like the 2000s, the early 2000s.
our relationship, we ended up opening things up so they could date people who were closer to them, and I could do that with people who were closer to me. And that lasted
And opening up is a term from Tristan Taormino, by the way. She coined that term.
maybe a couple months. It was not maybe like a month or two. It was not very long at all. And then eventually ended up fully breaking things off with them, and we went on our separate ways.
Again, Sam, the first one did not last very long for me at all. Very fun, but more of a fling than a relationship. Although one person in that original group, we have stayed close friends for the last 30 years. 30 years? That's too long. In the last 20 years. There we go. I'm not that old. We have stayed good friends for the last 20 years.
And this is wild, okay? I could not believe this. And I could factually verify this was true and not just a troll thing, because they left something very specific that only that person would know about in their comment. But I discovered that the person that I had broken up with, who was my first DS partner, the person who married them watches my channel, and they told me that they actually ended up like being fully polyamorous eventually. So like, and now they're married and stuff. So hey, like, people who say polyamory doesn't work, like, seems like it actually might, though. So that was really cool. I thought that was nice. But we did not.
Polyamory didn't work for me because I'm monogamous by nature. For those that don't know, I've been separated from my wife for about a year. We're making plans to get back together. That's kind of a big announcement that's coming in January. But for the past year, even though we've been separated, I've been loyal to my wife. I don't want to cheat. I don't have a desire to cheat. And when I've had the opportunity to move on, I haven't. I don't want to. So we talked about that. And if I'm willing to do a specific thing for her, we're probably going to stay married. So that's very good. But that's why I'm not polyamorous. It's not a religious thing. I personally prefer monogamy. And if me and my wife don't work out, my next partner, or the partner who I end up marrying after I date, will probably be my permanent wife. Like I'm not someone who wants to cheat. I'm not someone who wants to be with someone who wants to cheat, and I'm not with someone who wants to be in an open relationship. That's just not where I'm at. If I was, I would be, but I'm not.
End up staying together as polyamorous partners. We just kind of tried to do an open relationship thing that didn't really work out. And then one fateful day, I went to a dungeon party. And at this dungeon party, I met someone who would then eventually become another dom of mine. And I actually have a very clear memory. This is my first time going to this dungeon ever. I just like waltzed in. I had been invited by somebody else that I knew from the area. And I was looking around, and things were already pretty busy. It was definitely the social time for the event. The play hadn't really taken off at that point yet. I think there might have actually been a distinct like first hour social only, and then having the dungeon open, but I only got to go to like 1 or 2 parties at that venue, and then they closed, so I don't remember the rules, and I can't look them up. So that's what I think happened. And I was just like browsing around, scoping things out, seeing where I saw people who might be interesting and where there was an opening for me to be able to sit and talk to people, because I did not know anyone, because the person who had invited me to this party actually wasn't there. They just told me about it. So I had to kind of go solo by myself, but I was a brave cookie and I just decided to go and do that. So I ended up sitting down, and I was sitting in this big shoe-shaped chair, and I overheard a conversation between people that were talking about polyamory and how amazing polyamory was, and how they basically, like, something along the lines of like polyamory is so great that I can't ever look back to monogamy. And so contextually I understood, oh, polyamory is like something that's not monogamy. Interesting. Wonder what that is about. And very quickly, I ended up actually playing with the person that became my dom in the future, and they were also polyamorous, because this was a group of people they knew, and everyone there was basically poly in that group. So it was just a natural connection there. And so because I was dating this person who was fully polyamorous, I also became fully polyamorous, having like half a point worth of experience with it previously. Sometimes I look back at what I did when I was younger, and I was just like, what was I thinking? Like, I just fully went into it, like, no education, no resources, just going like, yeah, it'll probably work out, it'll be fine, and just letting it happen. And I'm kind of glad I did that, because, you know, it's weird to think of yourself as a brave person, but I do think there's lots of instances in my life that have required.
Okay. Best looks. Was there anything else on my... Hold on. Anything else here that I wanted to do before we get into our pre-roll? BioWare is cooked. Polyamory. I think there was something else. Oh, let's see. Oh, yeah, the Pornhub. Okay, here we go.
I am Summer.
So, now, I am not sure if Ruslan is actually this naive or he's pretending to be this naive. So he's going to say some things here that are a little stupid, a little uninformed. But I can only assume it's naivete and not false naivete. Although, if it turns out he's just as dirty as a lot of other Protestants that do public ministry, then yeah, it's false naivete.
Are you ever conflicted?
I think that the work we are doing in an industry, whether you like it or not, right? And we happen to we like the people we work with. We like the industry. Okay, it will exist. So to be part of the movement that's going to make it safer, not by getting 2.5 million, shut it down.
Okay. Hold on. He said that. First of all, he said that with a straight face.
Yeah. He's like, look, love it or hate it, it's going to exist.
I am a man of faith. One. That's for answer number two. They cut to the girl with the cross necklace on.
I think, and I don't know what her involvement is, but she's definitely some sort of executive.
Yes. So then his logic is people are going to consume it anyway. And because people are going to consume...
No, we're not going to play that music. Let's go over here.
Is there ads? Is it ads?
I think it's a combination of ads.
I'm not familiar with their business model. Is there ads? Is it ads?
I think it's a combination of ads.
Membership.
I want to say there's like a membership, like YouTube has a membership.
Okay.
And I don't
Super
know.
chats?
I don't know. That I don't know. But I think it's a combination of ads and like some sort of channel membership. Yeah.
So I hang out with sinners. I am a sinner. I don't pretend not to be. And I sit with and hang out with sinners. I'm friends with sinners. And sometimes that is a noble decision to be friends with the people who I'm friends with. And sometimes it is just putting myself in front of temptation that I really shouldn't be. Just honestly. But the majority of people who I've spoken to who live in the life, these are people who I've eaten dinner with, breakfast with, gone out for cake and coffee, talked politics with, eaten meatballs with, done a lot of normal, fun stuff. Gone to listen to their poetry jams, met their kids. People in the adult industry. And even people who are tangential into the adult industry who are bad people. Almost every single one of them I've met are Christian. I have only met 2 atheists, maybe 3, in that lifestyle the entire time. Even when I wasn't a practicing Christian, even when I was so far from being a Christian, where I was drinking every night, where I was in polyamorous relationships, where I identified as pansexual, like the whole thing. Even when I was as far away from Christianese as you can imagine, everybody who I talked to identified as a Christian and went to church. And a lot of these people still go to church every week. They don't miss church. They go to church, whether Protestant, Catholic, whatever. Mostly Catholic, but a lot of them were Protestants. A lot of them are Baptist, actually. Yeah, they're Christian. They wear the cross. They talk the talk, but they do things that are sinful. And yeah, sometimes they do things that are not approved by the law. And they're bad people. They've gone to jail. There's this one girl who I dated. I went on a date with her and I was like, hey, you're really cool. She's like, yeah, I've been out for a week. I'm like, you were in jail a week ago. Okay. Obviously that was way, way long ago. I think that was my late 20s, actually. But yeah, I've met these people and I'm still friends with some of these people. Some of the biggest crooks, biggest scam artists I know are Christian. They identify as Christian. And they pray. They'll pray in the morning. They'll pray when they get to work. They'll pray when they get out. They'll pray for protection. And they believe that God's on their side, even though they're doing things that are clearly against the Bible. So I think Ruslan here is being extremely naive about who people really are and how people really behave. The same preacher who's telling you to be good when the church service is over, yeah, he's somewhere he shouldn't be, doing things he shouldn't be doing, and doing things that he's telling you not to do.
So mid video, you might get like a Clorox.
So CP just said it's ads and subs.
Huh. So like mid-roll ads, like
I don't know.
every 2 minutes.
Like a YouTube video.
Oh wow, that's
Down, have a petition, be nasty. But by actually doing the work, investing in making it safer, that's an extraordinarily positive thing to do.
And destigmatization as well, because one of the realities is that this is a very stigmatized industry, right? And we know
As it should be.
yeah.
No, it shouldn't be. You can't help people by shaming and stigmatizing them. That doesn't work. Shaming and stigmatization only leads to people rejecting your point of view and doing more of what they wanted to do in the first place. Shaming does not work.
Yeah. What stigma are we breaking down? Like, what is there to break down? I'm not understanding.
You were not
Stigmatizing only makes it harder for people to get clean, get sober, or live a normal life after the fact.
designed
Yeah.
to live your life like a human rabbit, just ravaging through any partner you can.
Actually, that's, as an animal, our only goal is survival. And to be pleasure seeking is actually a philosophy of how to handle life, whether it's hedonism or other kinds of stuff. You have to give people a reason to rise above their pleasure seeking. I really like the way this little guy looks.
Can have on camera for the consumption of other people. That was not God's design for you.
And the product is inherently made to be consumed in private and
Boy, do you not know.
decently shameful to even non-Christians. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not a product that, like,
Anybody want to tell them? Anybody?
like non-Christians are like, dude, we have like bachelorette viewing parties. Like, this is not like
They're not gathering around and looking at the premieres. when
yeah,
they
like
drop.
oh man, like, you know, raunchy TV used to be.
You're just wrong. Literally, Showtime After Dark was huge. HBO After Dark was huge. Literally, like there was a big deal. You're just wrong. And living in a world, or you're lying about what the world you're living in.
Stigmatized, but now we just watch it as like a Super Bowl.
Right. Oh man.
know full fact that when there is increased stigma, right, there's increased violence. So whenever we have
I'm listening.
And again, in societies where they banned erotica, sex crimes go up. when you allow for erotica, sex crimes go down. That's real statistics.
That just gave her a big sigh.
I think he started laughing
Oh, did he start laughing?
because she said full forced. She stopped and it sounded like she's gonna say something crazy. And they're
The
talking
man hit her with a.
about, what?
Been running that tells you about the values of this company.
This man think he Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, he think he.
Yeah, he's got a ton of money. Sex is a big business. Always has been. Prostitution's older than the Bible. That's a fact. So, yeah, sex sells. Bad people do bad things. And there's been bad people a lot longer than there's been Christians or Jews. So, chill out.
He changing the world.
This man's
Bro,
like,
you're selling poison to people.
let me tell you about the values of.
So, will you say the same thing to someone who sells cigarettes or alcohol? Or someone who sells donuts? Or what if there's a bake sale and the kids are handing out candies? Are they selling poison? Because that'll kill me. I'm diabetic. I became diabetic because people thought of all that kind of trash food as good food. Literally, I lost my ability to walk for over a year from donuts and pizza. So are you going to say that the, what was it? It's not John Doe's. The pizza, it's not Tony Roma's. The pizza guy, Johnny whatever. You're going to tell me that guy who became a super Christian, he's not allowed to be Christian because he's selling poison to diabetics? Because he's helping lead to the obesity crisis in the United States and now worldwide? No, you don't think that. So why is this guy any different? That guy doesn't need God? This guy right here doesn't need God. Is that what you're saying? The corn star who's praying for forgiveness doesn't need forgiveness? Wow, that's an interesting take. That's an interesting understanding. You and Matt Fradd should hang out more often. So the corn star who's in the midst of sin doesn't need God in her life and can't pray to God for forgiveness. Weird. Weird considering that's who God himself came to save. But no. But religion's only for the righteous. You're right. Religion's only for the good people, the people who don't make mistakes, the people who don't hurt other people, the people who don't like sex, the people who want to be monastic and have 5 kids and want to work a dead-end job and don't want to be famous and definitely don't want to be on YouTube making millions of dollars. Definitely don't want to be rappers or Christian rappers because those would be evil people who are hypocrites, who are trying to embrace the culture and the world while at the same time saying they're apart from it. Yeah, you're right, Ruslan. In fact, no one should even know your name. No one's name should be above the Lord's. This is why Vance and Trump are pulling for these people. And this is why the Republican Party is moving away from ultra-conservatism because it can't win. It can't win elections. It can't do anything.
This company, he's like doing the Trump hands.
It's literally like digital heroin
Yeah,
on these platforms. They didn't ban that.
that's really bad.
So miss me with the
Is that what it is?
yes,
Oh, okay.
yes. There's
There are other problems with this guy's particular website that are way worse than the problem that you're going after. There are real problems with this guy's website that have nothing to do with the legal stuff. Stuff that's legal and classic and old doesn't matter as much as the stuff that needs to be stopped on platforms like his. The reason why his platform got in trouble is not because of the AVN awards or something like that. It's because his platform wasn't regulated enough and allowed things that shouldn't have been on there. That's the reason for the legal problems that he had or is having. And Twitch right now is in the middle of its own shitstorm. Again, I pick these videos and I forget, and then they go and they say things that I can't say. So once that's done, there goes any monetization, right?
Age. It's like,
my
no,
gosh.
why would I do that?
No.
I'm not trying to get the FBI watch
Right.
list just to prove your point that
Yeah.
I'd still disagree with inherently. Oh my gosh.
We have linked up with organizations that try to, people who are looking for this
Hey, yo.
material, deter them, get them help. Because it would be very easy for us to just turn a blind eye and say, well, they're never going to find that material on our site. So, just have
Yeah, our
nothing.
work's done and
Our
that's
work's
it.
done.
But it's not. We take it the extra step.
So we've partnered in Canada, where we're from, in the United States here, where people can actually get help who are looking for illegal material. And that means, so I said, what's the meaning of that? Imagine those people get the help they need, and that saves a child from a lifetime of victimization. Now, is that a site's job? No, it's not. But we have these eyeballs. And if we know people are making these searches, even though they're not going to find anything, that is something that we can do to make a positive impact.
I want to get you.
I'm gonna sell you drugs, then I'm gonna recommend a sober living.
No, that's not what he's saying. That's not what he's saying. Don't be a prick. Don't be a moron.
But he said, Judaism has no problem with since adultery is about a physical act, not thoughts.
That is true. And that already came to a head multiple times when Jewish believers spoke out in support of pornography. I hate saying that kind of stuff. I want to just say the real word. But anyway, because of that, Christians and Jewish theologians and thinkers and political pundits clashed last year. So don't be naive.
Site to see what he was selling, but I remember hearing that.
Of women, okay? And he says on and loneliness. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I couldn't disagree more. I think that,
Of course.
like any other form of expression, we have Hollywood movies full of fantasy. Right? So people who
And there is a free rights issue involved with this. There's a free speech issue involved in this. But there's also the fact that we can't force people who aren't Christian to live by Christian rules. That would be Christendom. That would be a Christian nation, and we're not a Christian nation. We're a democracy. We're a republic made up of many different people with representation of many different people. If people choose to live under a Christian construct, that's fine. But it has to be their choice. And if they're non-Christian, it even needs to be more their choice. If someone's a Christian, they should be living by the Christian rules, even if the rest of society is not. In fact, the best place to be a Christian, the best place to live out your Christian virtues is in a society without Christian virtues. Be a Christian even when everyone else is not. That's what you're supposed to be doing. And through your example, have more people come into the fold. Preach the gospel through your life, through your word. Live the gospel. Not this. You're swinging at low-hanging fruit. The guy's a pornographer. Yeah. Christians don't like him. Yeah. A lot of normal people don't like him. I guarantee you he's the most popular person in every one of his groups in real life. Just like Trump. So, can't have it both ways. You can't be a Trump fan and then hate this guy. Because this guy and Trump has way more in common than you and Trump do. All right, let's move on. Supposed to be on my watch together. There we go, playlist. Do 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 do. Do 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 Okay, let's see. Where are we? Where are we? We'll get to that one in a minute. We're not going to do this one today because, like I said, we're going to do some stuff for Politics Week. And this is just like pre-gaming. Let's do this one. Then we'll hit... I want to do these, but I know we'll get hit with a copyright if I do. Maybe we'll do this one. And this one. That we'll probably end there. Let's get to... You know what? We might play a little bit of the clip from Amalia and from, I was going to call her Citizen Kane. Citizen Kanette. Oh, the chick who used to do the stupid fake yoga videos. By the way, don't watch her fake yoga videos. Watch Tara Stiles. She actually does good yoga stuff. Interesting yoga stuff. Yeah, when I say I'm free speech, I don't mean I'm just free speech for my side. I mean I'm actually free speech. I do believe there's limits to free speech, but that's a different conversation for a different day. Oh, hot dog it.
Like, where's a big right-wing pundit who joined a liberal network, like Anna Kasparian announcing she's leaving the left? You know what I mean? Or Dave Rubin.
I mean, listen, if you want to say that these are like the intellectual pillars of...
No, certainly not. I'm saying something's causing an emotional rift that makes people not want to be on the left anymore.
Well, I would suggest it's probably cash. I mean,
You think
like
Anna
you said,
Kasparian wanted money?
she said as much as far as I know. And
Okay, but this guy's not an honest person. He's bad faith, so we're not going to watch this. There's nothing there. Oh, that's too bad. Okay. Let's go with the Prim Reaper. I like the Prim Reaper, by the way. She's pretty cool. She's I know that not everybody likes her channel, but I found her entertaining
Being a
and
socially unaware asshole. Hello once again from the Prim Reaper. This is not a video I wanted to write. This is not a topic I wanted to engage with again. But I gotta be honest with you, the resentment and frustration I've been feeling over the last few months has been slowly building and building, watching the continued negative engagement I've been seeing with my black pill video from a while back. I've been doing a lot of thinking about it, and being quite candid, planning this response has been a bit of an emotional roller coaster. I've been all manner of sad and angry and incredulous going through it all, and I'm sure that parts of all that will come out in this video. Regardless, I think there are a number of things that need to be said, even if just to get it off my chest. First, what might come as a surprise to some people, I'm going to start with an apology. I reread the original script for the first video, and as much as I thought I was trying to be thorough, I realized that I let a lot of my previous work in my channel do a lot of the heavy lifting for the message I was trying to get across. To elaborate, I can see how people who discovered my channel through the black pill video alone could be forgiven for thinking that I was being flippant or dismissive in some elements of what I was saying. I kept a lot of the emotional elements a little more surface level than I normally might in the interests of time, and I think that led to a lot of misunderstanding and assumptions. Let me give a few examples. When I talked about the black pill being akin to giving oneself permission to give up on life without having to engage in any hard work or self-reflection, I know what I meant to say, but I can see how it might have come across in that video, so I apologize about that genuinely. Many people who have gotten to black pill stage have indeed gotten there after considerable effort and repeated failures. Furthermore, when I talked about things that can lead to a black pill mindset, I again kept it rather surface level and focused on broader issues like political divides and costs of living, and didn't really zoom in on a lot of those more specific individual causes. Once more, I know how I intended this. I was just trying to give a brief overview to more quickly get to challenging the mindset. But I now see it just looked as though I was misunderstanding and possibly even minimizing many people's fundamental and deeply personal experiences. I think I take for granted sometimes that my audience is familiar with my previous videos or my work with men, and I think that obviously hindered my message in that video. Another thing I briefly want to address is that there doesn't necessarily seem to be a cohesive use of the phrase black-pilled by many folks. Some people are using it
I'm not sure if she's sitting on the floor or this is just a really tall dresser. I think she's sitting on the floor.
to refer to one specific domain of life. Some people are using it in a more philosophical sense, talking about the futility of existence. And then some
I noticed that most people were talking about it in the philosophical sense or metaphysical sense,
people are using it as a general overarching hopelessness and
or as a reference to counteract the red pill, blue pill stuff from the Matrix.
giving up on life. To be clear, it's this latter category that I criticize as being most damaging. If people are talking about the black pill giving them a sense of calm or peace,
But I think also this way of talking and thinking is kind of over. I don't hear a lot of it right now on any of the political fronts. I know that the first time Trump was running, this was huge. It was all about the red pill. It was all about them supporting MAGA and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that's what's going on this time around.
or acceptance about their situation. That's not really the same use of the word that I often see, which speaks of bleakness and hopelessness about life. So I just wanted to clear that up, as I think that was really contributing to the misunderstandings I was talking about. I'll go into a bit more detail later on. In any event, this video is not all mea culpas. Where I really start to get my dander up is the claims that I don't understand, or even can't understand, what it's like for some of these people. Because I do understand. I understand on multiple levels. First of all, I hope it comes as no surprise that someone who used to look like this, and who used to have all the charisma of a plank of wood, would know a thing or two about being alone and being rejected by others. In my 10th and 11th grade, I made so many critical social errors that you'd think I was going for some sort of idiot speed run on how quickly I could alienate anyone I'd ever considered a friend. For a time, I was the person that people would make random jeers at when they walked past me in the hallway. I wrote stories about people I wished were my friends in lieu of real socialization for a while. I did this, I shit you not, alone in the band room of my school. It was a pretty sad case. Far be it from me to say I was just a poor, pitiful victim of bad circumstances, or that everyone around me was just being mean and nasty for no choice. Anyway, there's one more domain I wanted to talk about in a bit more detail regarding the you don't or can't understand crowd. I mean, honestly, imagine telling someone who actively advocates for men's issues, in the public eye no less, that they don't understand what it's like to fight a losing battle. Imagine telling someone who tries to persuade people that men are worth caring about, that men deserve compassion, that men are worthy as ends in themselves, that they don't know what it's like to be treated like you're doing something wrong just for trying to talk to people. Imagine telling someone who regularly tries to advocate for funding and attention for resources that help men, that they don't know what it's like to be rejected time. This is too important, and there are too many men being affected by negative societal attitudes to not fight against it, and to do so publicly. But second of all, because no matter how hard the current pushes against us, we are gaining ground. A few years ago, back in 2021, the Canadian Centre for Men and Families in Toronto opened Canada's first domestic abuse shelter for men and their children. Now, on November 1st, we will be opening a second one here in Calgary. This is huge. One of the things that inspired me to really dedicate my work to men's issues in the first place was way back when I worked for 211, the information and resource line, and
That was an interesting video. Like I said, I like the Prim Reaper. She was more relevant when the red pill was more relevant. Oh, sorry. Now, she's not really relevant. Like I said, ever since Tate imploded, I think all of that's going away. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Be comical. Where's amplification of anti-Semitism not so dangerous? Bro, are we about to have a Houthi rebel on stream? Yes, brother. I'm a journalist.
Hezbollah is a paramilitary organization.
Do we like them or no?
I don't have an issue with them, let's just say.
Go fucking slap a context note under Richie Torres's tweet if you can. That's the other ridiculous shit.
I don't like Hassan Piker. I've said this before. The only reason I would ever talk to him and you know me, I don't do conversion stuff. That's just not the way that I go. I live my life and I treat people well. And if through that they want to ask me about what my faith is and we can start talking about Christianity and I can get them to come to church, great. That's the way that I do my conversion. And that's the way I spread the good news outside of doing this, which, like I said, the focus of this channel has to change because what I was trying to get to has been said by Jordan Peterson and Richard Dawkins. They have over 1 million views in that video. All my views all put together doesn't even come close to that for all my videos. So the focus of my channel now has to change. This video clearly is not doing its job because we've already had a lot of topics and we've already had words that will not be monetized. But we're going to focus more on monetization and entertainment. Still doing what we do. Still doing the anti-apologetics. Still doing the book reading and the book reviews. But we're, with more of a focus on monetization and audience appeal, I guess. Mass appeal. Anyway, but back to Hasan. The only reason I would ever talk to him is to try to convert him into Christianity or to convert him into Aristotelian ethics and possibly Stoicism. There's maybe to get him to give away most of his fortune to the homeless, to give his money away to people in need here in America. That would be amazing. Maybe wherever he lives in California, to give the majority of his money away, like 90% of his money away to homeless people in California, like literally straight to them, not to an organization, but actually go down the street and give the money to the people who need it, buy food and supplies to people who need it. That's the only reason why I would ever talk to him. I wouldn't want to talk to him about his politics because I think his politics are disgusting. I wouldn't want to talk to him about his religious point of view because I think there's not enough common ground for us to speak to each other. I don't have a problem speaking with people who disagree with me. This would just turn into an argument or a fight. And I don't want to insult Christianity by behaving that way publicly. So, yeah. I don't see a reason to interact with this dude other than to try to convert him into any of my way of thinking, whether it's pancreation, Stoicism, Aristotelianism, Catholicism, Christianity. I don't see a reason to talk to him other than to talk about those things and try to bring him over because I don't respect what this guy does. And I think he's hurting America and hurting politics. And he's hurting California and he's hurting Twitch and he's hurting YouTubers who want to copy him because he's successful and they want to do what he does. But the things that he does are not good for humanity. So that's my problem with Hasan.
Well then, looks like Hasan has shifted into total panic mode, going as far as to delete the last 2 months of multi-hour-long VODs. And one can only presume he did this because innocent people love to delete evidence. I mean, just ask Hillary Clinton. This all stems from the recent heat coming down on Twitch for the blatant double standard they've been having in regards to coverage of Israel versus Hamas. And the community ended up coming down pretty hard against this double standard after the ban of Asmongold. And one doesn't even have to jump that far to realize the conclusion they're going to land on is that Twitch is playing favorites. I mean, honestly, you just have to look no further than the 14-day ban that they handed to Asmongold immediately after his statement. But it seems like the tides could be churning after a sitting Democratic member of Congress, Richie Torres, submitted a congressional letter to Twitch as well as to Amazon.
What I don't understand is Gank. Is it Gank? Snake? I used to literally be subscribed to TYT back when it was a little bit more edgy and a little less one-sided is the wrong word, but a little bit less, a little bit more relevant. Put it that way. When it was a little bit more edgy and a little bit more relevant, I used to watch TYT all the time. So I think his uncle should have been the one doing this. I don't think it should have been a lawyer or a sitting politician. It should have been his uncle his uncle should have come in and said, "Hey, man, you're messing up. I know you're making money, but what you're saying isn't right." Because now he could get in some real trouble, and I don't think he needs real trouble. Just to be very clear, even if I don't like his message, he has every right to say it, and he should be allowed to say it. And if it's profitable, better for him. But we need people who have a different opinion than his to be just as popular. And the fact that we can't do that is a problem for the side of the people that want to be more reasonable. The fact that the more reasonable people are not more interesting is our problem. It's not his problem for being interesting and entertaining. Even if he's suffering from audience capture, even if he's suffering from an echo chamber, that's not his fault for being popular. That's our fault for not being able to be as popular.
Specifically calling out Hassan and citing the many clips of his absurd statements. And let's just say that sent Hassan into a spiral. And in a moment of clear panic, he started to delete his VODs, completely wiping 2 months of content off of his channel. But if Hassan looked just a little bit more closely to that congressional letter, he would notice that everything they are citing has been backed up on Google Drive links. Now, watch as he tries to discredit this member of Congress to his chat using his standard playbook.
Hassan Piker is seen laughing at a Jewish woman who thanked VP Harris for advocating for hostages who conveyed concern about anti-Semitism. Simple question for Hassan Piker. What exactly do you find amusing? Are you amused by anti-Semitism? Amused by kidnapping 30 children, among them infants and toddlers? Amused by the abduction of aging Holocaust and Farhud survivors? The useful idiocy of Hassan Piker would be comical, where his amplification of anti-Semitism not so dangerous. And it's like pretty obvious what I'm amused by here. But of course, it's another 18-second clip that this dip posted. And it's like, yeah, dumb. I'm abused by the fact that there's this woman who's like, I am an undecided voter, and my decision hinges on how sufficiently pro-Israel Kamala Harris is. Yeah, that's the absolute dumbest thing on the fucking planet to be undecided over. Anyway, also I called it ahead of time. So it follows Boner Chelly, by the way. Yeah, it's pretty cool that he thinks that hitching his wagon on like a famous internet cyber who has tanked campaigns in the past, apparently, is actually is a solid way to go about this. But then again, he's gotten literal funding from Kahanis, so it's not that surprising. Nobody cares, though. He's got no motion. Are you moving away from the camera?
I have one more.
Are you, Austin is escaping. Nah, he's got no motion. He sucks. We should community note him. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, he gets like 100 likes per tweet usually. But when he posts about me, he gets like hella motion from all the Boner Chelly orbiters. Look, it's just like fucking Richie.
By the way, Asmongold stepped down from OTK. I don't think that's been resolved, so he's probably no longer the boss of that company. And since that company is kind of tying at least the orbiters of that company and the talent of that company seems to want to tie themselves up to Hassan, I could see that company breaking up. Happened to Rooster Teeth. It can happen to OTK. I think if OTK breaks up, I think the only one who gets hurt are the other members of OTK, because Asmongold is so popular, he doesn't even have to monetize to get rich off of being a Twitch star and a YouTuber. So yeah, I think Asmongold is going to be fine. I think the company that he co-founded, without him, will crash and burn. But
Torres, it's debate like Boner Chelly. It's all guys like that. They got no motion. It's like it's E Fartlow. It's John Fetterman. Like you have nothing. You have no motion. You have no movement.
You can sit here and complain all you want, but all of these things are things that came out of your mouth. Then you sit there and complain about 18-second clips being taken out of context. Oh, the irony. Because everybody knows that's literally how you discredit the feature of Twitter. So they could add their own context to this member of Congress's posts. All so they could try to discredit him and get ahead of the story.
Can you feel it?
let's see where we're at. So yeah, I'm gonna try to find a way to get to the clips that I want to play. We're already an hour in. I don't even think anyone jumped into this one. I don't care. We're having fun. You know what? We're gonna do a little bit. Are we gonna do a little Aristotle? We'll do a little Aristotle. Then we're going to do these two videos. We're not going to... No, we'll save the Aristotle for another day, but I really want to do this one. Nicky Mannequin Ethics. We're going to do this one, Theory and Philosophy. Then we're going to do Vlogging Through History. And then we're going to do 2 clips, one from Amalia and one from someone else. Yeah. Darn it. Stop.
Back again today, I want to tell you about Adrienne Rich's notion of compulsory heterosexuality from her essay titled Compulsory Heterosexuality and Lesbian Existence from the good old year 1980. But before jumping into it, hi, I'm David. I explain philosophical concepts and ideas and ways to make them accessible to you. So if you're new here, you can subscribe and see videos I release once a week, once every 2 weeks. We'll see. You can find this as a podcast if you found this on YouTube, where you can just get the audio. If you found this as a podcast, you can find it on YouTube. Or sometimes more on this text alone, I've covered it. Just type in Adrienne Rich, compulsory heterosexuality, and chances are you'll find my explanation for it as either a podcast or YouTube video or whatever. You can go check that out. But today I'm just going to explain the term because it has far-reaching implications. And it's something that I think is a term that when students mostly hear, it's like a click moment in their minds where they're like, oh, hadn't really thought of it that way. So I'm hoping I can do that with some of you, but I'm also interested in how many of you see this playing out. How does compulsory heterosexuality affect you in your day-to-day lives? In what ways is it policed? Is it disciplined into people? Now, just to start out, I mean, just as her essay does, Adrienne Rich developed this term not only to respond to patriarchal power and men's power over women, but she was also responding to the feminist movement in the 70s, 60s, and 70s that didn't really represent the experiences of lesbian women. That is, many feminists who were fighting against
Nothing like hearing a man explain what lesbians think. There's no irony here at all.
Patriarchal power assumed that heterosexuality was natural and normal. And by doing that, they excluded and ostracized lesbian women from actually really having a representative voice in the popular feminist.
Now, this is relevant because, and I actually got kind of a little upset about this earlier, not on stream, just in my personal life. They're making a lot of hay out of J.D. Vance's normal gay comment. The normal gays will support us. Okay. He didn't say it that way. He said it as in like the average gay person is going to be what he really meant was the average homosexual person is going to support Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance as a ticket. That's what he was saying. He didn't word it that way. Okay, fine, whatever. But this video that we're watching right now is that same comment, but directed toward lesbians. And I have seen this in my personal life as someone who is friends with people who identify as lesbian. And there are, I don't know how else to describe it. There are lesbians every day who put on lipstick and put on a suit and go to work and live a normal fucking life and have 3 dogs and live in very nice houses and have let me finish my point, BS. And have little backyard or garage workout places for them and their friends to work out. I wasn't struggling at all. I was doing well, but I was a struggling personal trainer. And I have friends in this neighborhood who are personal trainers, and they're a very nice lesbian couple who I am currently trying to get them to adopt one of my cats. That's what he meant by normal gay. That's what this article means about the normalization of lesbian subculture. And if you ever watch the L Word, not the remake / live thing, not that, but the original series, the L Word, that was all about the normalization of the normal everyday lesbian. And it was showing that a lesbian can have many different stripes and colors, but the majority of them are hardworking, pro-family, pro-life individuals. By pro-life, I don't mean like pro-non-abortion, but as in like pro-living life. You know, pro-surfing, making out with a hot chick, going to a bar, having a good time. And yes, in the tropes of the show, the guy is always the bad guy. We get that. That's not what I'm talking about. The show was about the normalization of the normal, average lesbian experience, which, of course, a TV show about glamorous, hot, beautiful people doesn't capture that, of course. But that's what J.D. Vance was talking about. He was talking about it for the gay man. And it's not queer. Oh, what was it? It was another Showtime show. It was like the L Word, but it was for dudes. And it was also showing the normal, average gay man who's just a gay dude, but he still has a regular life. And so, like, what was that show? Queer as Folk. There we go. queer as folk. So that is what JD Vance is trying to appeal to. On a Republican ticket, I don't know that it's going to work, but at least he's trying. So that's kind of what we're going to hear about here, but from the lesbian side, because I was kind of upset that everyone's concentrating on the gay part of what he said and not the queer part of what's implied.
Movement. Now, Adrian Rich is just trying to decouple this
Oh,
association.
B.S. Lewis said, because this was great, this almost broke me. He said, gays aren't average, they're fabulous. That's beautiful, B.S. It's beautiful.
Between feminism and between heterosexuality. To not only say that lesbian existence.
We're pre-gaming, by the way, for next week. If you want to schedule a live show, BS, with maybe a few of your friends, and I can bring a few of mine, and we can do kind of the conservative versus liberal, progressive, whatever, and we can do a little pre-debate or pre-election conversation. Let me know. Hell, if you want to, if we can get some people together to actually do the election night, I'd be down. Let me know, man.
Is something that is also natural, something that can also be normal with the right social conditions, but it presents a fundamental challenge to patriarchal authority. Now, her point is not to say that it is a political identity, it's not, but that it can have this effect. And so she offers the term lesbian existence to oppose compulsory heterosexuality because she wants to think about lesbian existence beyond the narrow association with sexual couplings, like in the case of lesbians. So she offers the terms lesbian existence and lesbian continuum to think about the entire spectrum.
Lesbian continuum is not a term I've heard. No, it is a term I heard, because when I heard about the show Continuum, before I thought about time travel, I thought about the lesbian thing. So I have heard this term before. I don't know where or how.
Of largely women relationships with one another in romantic and platonic and other kinds of intimate ways that breaks down many of the enforced beliefs.
I think this was replaced or tried to replace, or it was replaced by the more common term of sapphic, I believe.
The enforced practices within patriarchy that often do the work, or that often does the work of separating women, taking them apart from one another, divide and conquer, so to speak. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. I mean, what is the thing they're opposing?
Oh, this guy has male feminist all over the way he's speaking in this video. I've heard him speak in other videos, and he doesn't talk this way, so this is kind of funny.
What is compulsory heterosexuality? Well, simply, it is the idea for Adrian Rich that heterosexuality is not necessarily what people naturally gravitate to, but is rather something that is socially and culturally ingrained into people, and is actually encouraged and is actually disciplined into people from a very young age. And one of the examples I like to give to my students to help them kind of think about how strange compulsory heterosexuality really is, I ask them to think in their lives, and I'm going to ask you, think in your own life, how many of you have most of your most intimate, personal, close friendships are with people of the same gender that you identify with? People?
So that's actually a very interesting question for me, because, and I was just saying this to Mitra under one of her comments under my video that I did responding to her, the edited version, not the one I did on live stream. I was a very shy kid. I did not talk in front of people normally relaxed, comfortably until I was in college. For the most part, I was just quiet, and I would frown all the time, but I was mostly just quiet. And the few times I would speak, I'd either say something strange or I'd say something out of pocket, and I didn't really understand. It definitely didn't have the term out of pocket back then. I didn't really understand what was offensive about what I would say. I didn't understand how to take a joke, didn't know how to tell a joke. Like, it was very awkward. Definitely was not good at when people would flirt with me. No clue. But that being said, my best friends all the way until my senior year in high school were women. My best friends growing up in kindergarten, my best friend was a girl, Sarah Castaneda. My best friend in junior high was a girl, Jessica. She always wore a leather jacket. She was really awesome. Had curly hair. She had vertigo, right? That's what it's called. Or Vitigo, whatever the skin thing where she would have patches, but it looked really great on her. It actually looked kind of sexy. And then remember I was 13. Okay, so don't take what I just said weird. I was 13 years old. I thought she was beautiful, and she was my best friend. We weren't romantic in any kind of way. She was badass, though. When I was in high school, my best friend was also Rebecca Woody. And Rebecca was the first out lesbian at my school. It tells you how far back I got to go to be a teenager. And she was awesome, man. She was totally awesome. Like I loved hanging out with her. And even when I was polyamorous and when I was dating certain individuals, my best friend, who was also the person who I asked to be the best person at my wedding, was a lesbian female. So my best friends for most of my life, my closest friends were female. My first male best friend outside of a childhood best friend, Robert Sims, was David. And David has been my best friend. We were friends in high school, but really sometime in middle college. I think when I was graduating, maybe when I went to my cancer scare, he became my best friend. Tony is one of my best friends. He's the guy in some of my videos you see me weightlifting with, the guy who can lift almost 400 pounds on a bench press. That guy. He's a great friend of mine. Oscar, whose birthday it is today. Happy birthday, Oscar. He's the best friend of mine. The other Oscar, who is in Houston right now with his family, he's a best friend of mine. So I got like 5 male best friends now as an adult male. But growing up, well into my mid-20s, my best friends, my closest friends, who were just friends, there was no romantic anything between us, were female. And that includes someone who I, had one of those unrequited love things with, Monica. She was absolutely my best friend in junior high. And Jessica, my other female best friend, hated her because of that. And anyway, jealousy aside. So for the majority of my maturation, it was actually women who were my closest friends. It wasn't until I became an adult man around 25 that changed. And then some of the people who were just friends before then became more important in my life and became my best friends. But there was growth and there was a lot of time spent together. David and I spent years learning martial arts together and sparring other people, sparring each other. That's a very intense relationship that grew over time, and now he's basically my brother. So,
in the West here, tend to say,
I wouldn't even say basic. I wouldn't even say basically. He is my brother.
Close, intimate friendships are with someone who is of the same gender as I am. Yet compulsory heterosexuality dictates that actually we're going to ignore that, and you have to choose the one person to live with, to raise children with, is of the same gender as I am. Yet compulsory heterosexuality dictates, in the West here, tend to say, most of my close, intimate friendships are with someone who is of the same gender as I am. Yet compulsory heterosexuality dictates that actually we're going to ignore that, and you have to choose the one person to live with, to raise children with, and so on, has to be of another gender. Which is kind of strange. I mean, it seems as though, as humans, we, just by the evidence of most people having most friends of the same gender, maybe the evidence suggests that we gravitate towards those kinds of couplings. Now, my point is not to say that there's an actually natural way for people to orient themselves in the world. That's not what I'm saying at all. But even given this socio-romantic dynamic that I'm describing,
I want to be very clear. Growing up, my favorite color was pink. My room was full of rainbows, Christian rainbows, but rainbows nonetheless. My favorite movie stars were James Dean and Marilyn Monroe, and I had a fairly good love affair with Madonna, Pat Benatar, Joan Jett. Wow, Joan Jett. What? Pretty much all the classic movie stars. I've watched all the classic movies. I used to love AMC classics. So yeah. He keeps me on. I'll go see what he wants, but he's sitting on a table right now trying to get my attention.
It seems as though heterosexuality really isn't even what people gravitate
Frank,
towards. And it
just
actually
come here.
depends upon repeated disciplining. And this begins even before you're born. If you're born in the West, chances are, even before you exist, you've been given a name. And that name is probably from your father's line, if you have a father. And so even before you're born, you've been inscribed into a patriarchal order. And you might think, oh, it's just a name, whatever, who cares? But
I'm Catholic, so my name's actually from a saint. But okay.
I really put this to you. Imagine a heterosexual dynamic and a woman asks her spouse, oh, well, maybe let's name the child after me instead of you, and you can watch the dude short circuit and him not being able to comprehend that possibility. But it's as arbitrary to choose his last name versus her last name in a cis-het dynamic like that. And it goes to show just how much, like even the tiniest things like the name you're given, inscribes people within a patriarchal order. And this patriarchal order is one that relies upon the continued subjugation of women. Not only of women, but of non-heterosexual forms of romantic and platonic couplings. And this plays out in so many different ways. I mean, if a man and a woman are just...
This is not a joke. I wish it was. It's going to sound so horrible. But when I was my most femme, which I already had like 20-inch biceps and at a 46-inch chest, I think at the time. So when I was wearing the black lipstick and the mascara and I had the black nail polish and I had the blue hair, I literally had the blue dyed hair, came up to here. And I had, when my hair was wet, it would go down the middle of my back, but the rest of the time it would just kind of like fro up, like just fro, just like Wolverine style. When I looked like that, I was pursuing the most amount of women. I was like actively trying to date and yeah, so, and don't get me wrong, I was listening to Switchblade Symphony. I was listening to a ton of Alanis Morissette and a ton of Lisa Loeb. The most goth music I was listening to was Lisa Loeb. Yes, I know. Yes, I had the Century CDs. Yes, I got all the goth groups, all the groups that came and went, that flew by night. Hey, Thomas. Yeah, well, I had a terrible showing yesterday, and I didn't want that to be my last show of the week, or forbid anything happens to me. I didn't want that to be the last show of mine on record, so I want to do this. I got idiots trying to call me to go out and go drink right now, and I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do it. So I'm doing this. This is how I stay sober and clean, is I do podcasts instead of going out drinking. What do you think, man? You like it? I got it in the mail.
Out for lunch together, many people interpret that as though they are on a date with one another. And your family and friends might be like, oh, well, what are you doing with this person? As though it's impossible for, in this case, a man and a woman to just be friends and to actually have things in common that they discuss, just because of the highly ordered and gendered way that our world...
But to be fair, like, the stuff that like I said, I didn't like to talk anyway. The stuff that me and my female friends would talk about were fairly feminine. We talk about fashion. We talk about art. A lot of sports talk, but not like football, like tennis, swimming. I didn't know anyone who was into ballet. Mostly tennis and swimming. Fashion modeling. A little bit about acting. A little bit about writing. Movies, music, a lot of music talk. We talk about whoever the current artist was. A lot of loving Snoop Dogg and a lot of loving Dr. Dre. So in public, I was like gangster, and in private, I was Lisa Loeb, all the way. Me and one of my few male best friends of my life, Joey Watley. We became best friends over a really awkward conversation. So he found out that I was involved in a thing called Fighting in the Park, which is it's a nothing thing. It's not a real thing. But he found out I was in it. He found out that I won, which again doesn't mean anything. And so he challenged me to a fight in one of my classes, and the teacher had faith in me and liked me, and so the teacher was like, "Ramon, I can go for I can go get something from somewhere. Is that cool?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so she leaves the room, and she leaves me and this guy. Now this guy is like 6'2", 6'3", handsomest person I've ever met in my life. And he's like, "There's no way you can beat the shit out of me." It's like, "I'll give you 3 moves." And I was like, "I don't need 3. I only need 1." Like really cocky. And the guy who would later become my best friend, David, is in the class, and he goes, "Oh shit, yeah." And he goes, "Dude, I'm telling you, I've been training with this guy. He's legit." And the guy's like, "Nah, man, he's short, he's chubby, he's got nothing." And I said, "Bring it." And I flipped him. I did a I think it was a Taekwondo flip. I don't think it was a karate flip. And smashed him on the ground. He's like, "I want to train with you." And I'm like, "Okay." And then the teacher came back to make sure that we didn't actually start like punching each other. And she was like, "Is everything good? Did you guys take care of it?" And we were like, "Yeah, we're good." And so from there, we trained together for a few months, and then the store that he worked at got robbed, and a move that I showed him saved his life. So the person robbing it, I guess it was a gun, it could have been a knife, was doing this thing right to the top of his head. And Joey did the block the way that I teach, not How long? How long? How long? How long? How long was it out? How much did you miss? What's the last thing you heard? Because I was going off on some really fun old story. Ah, dog it. I need a producer or an editor. I need someone in my ear. I got to make this show better. How long was I out? Was it more than 5 minutes? Oh my goodness. All right, forget it. We'll just keep going.
Has been divided. The only way they're supposed to meet.
Okay. Perfect. That wasn't too long. So after that happened, he gave credit to me for saving his life, even though I didn't really do anything. He just used the move that I showed him. And so we had like this like heart-to-heart conversation, and he's like, because now he trusted me. He was like, I got to tell you something proud about myself. And I'm like, "Okay, what?" And he's like, "Well, I listen to Lisa Loeb." And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I listen to Lisa Loeb. And he's like, no, you don't understand. I have all her albums. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I have all her albums. And so we had this like really cool bonding moment where it turns out we both secretly loved Lisa Loeb and knew all of her songs by heart. Like every single lyric. So yeah, that was a really cool bonding moment. So there you go. That's it.
Is within this romantic relationship that is highly bureaucratized by the state. It is highly organized by religion and religious authority, and it is encouraged socio and culturally from the moment you're born, being inscribed with either blue-colored things versus pink-colored things, always pointing to, apparently, another gender as what is supposed to be the person, or who is supposed to be the person you spend your life with. And the heterosexual argument here is to say, like, well, okay, humanity's one fundamental task is child rearing. Now, if we just assume that that is the case, which we shouldn't, I mean, to have children is not for everyone, and to have children, it shouldn't be mandated. I mean, that's a type of government control that I don't think anyone wants. Maybe some people want it, but...
Okay, I disagree with him slightly there, because literally the only point of life is to continue with life. Like that, if we were strictly biological, there is no soul, there is no point to anything but survival, then survival is the main goal. And so that includes childbirth and child rearing and the continuation of the species. So yeah, so I mean, I'd be very careful about going down biological dogmatism. I think that's a mistake on his part, but that's fine. That's fine. He said something stupid on 8 minutes on a 12-minute video. We're okay. He's okay. We're okay.
But I don't think any reasonable person would want that kind of government control. But in any case, even if we assume that, let us just assume that having children is somehow hardwired into us. There's nothing about that that states that
it is
after you have children, that you must raise that child in a house with someone of another gender. You can have children with someone. And then raise that children with maybe your friends. Why couldn't that work? Well, it's just because our world is structured in such a way where the benefits are only afforded to those kinds of couples.
No, it doesn't work because it doesn't work. It doesn't work not because it can't work. It's just because it doesn't work. They're competing theories of survival, and each theory eats the other theory. And right now the leading theory is monogamy. That's why. That doesn't mean that other theories don't exist. That doesn't even mean that other theories might not work, but they are subsumed or eradicated by the dominant theory. Which is, again, my theory on how the Bible is true. We get into that later. Not in this video. Not probably this whole week. So,
cis-het, within the cis-het matrix, anything that falls outside of that isn't recognized by the state, by religious authorities, by family and friends, which goes to show that if heterosexuality was truly natural, why do we have all of these institutions?
The idea that anything is truly natural or unnatural is stupid and a dumb way of thinking. The moment something is done in this reality, it's natural. The moment anything is done in this reality, it is natural. This plastic is natural. It's 100% natural. Anything synthetic that exists in this reality is natural. The way that we use the word natural and the way that we use the word unnatural has no bearing on an actual thing. Metatron actually got into this earlier today with his video on AD and CE. So, yeah. Now, these are really stupid distinctions that don't actually mean what people think they mean. They have no bearing on the reality they're talking about. And if that reality that they're talking about is correct, then the same then the distinguishiers are distinguishiers? Okay, forget it. I'm mumbling. Let's continue.
Policing it and making sure that it does in fact happen that way. If it was just natural, then people should just gravitate to it.
No, see, these are ought versus is arguments. These are not natural versus unnatural arguments, which is why that way of speaking is unproductive.
On their own.
Pun
But
intended.
That's not really what people do. People are actually a lot more complicated. Lesbian couples tend to be the happiest of all romantic couples. So what's really going on there? No.
I wonder how old that statistic is.
All of this isn't really even considering so far, like the actual material violence that women largely experience, let alone other.
Dude, you are a dude. You're not helping the cause as much as you think you are. All right, he's getting into stupidity, and I've been really positive on him so far. I don't want to shit on him. I like what he said. I got a feeling all of this is going to be me shitting on him, and we have like another 20 minutes, so let's go check out another video. Let's go. Why is Matt Whitman up there?
This is the
Go away.
A reaction video. Rather, I want to fill you in on some of the challenges that anyone creating historical content on YouTube is really dealing with in a significant way these days. And I know that this has been a problem for a while now, but it seems as though just even in the last couple of weeks, it has escalated in a significant way. And what I'm talking about is the problem of demonetization and ad restriction and even age restriction on videos simply talking about historic content. And I want to use a few examples just from the last several weeks.
I was part of the first ad apocalypse, so this is not news for me. Not even the first ad apocalypse. What was it called back then? Before it was called the ad apocalypse. Anyway, Thegan Than, martial arts ban, thanks to their sword commentary, because someone used the sword. It's something in some country that's not America, but fuck it. And all of us had to suffer, and my channel got delisted. To where my clients who were using it to train for training videos and updates for katas and stuff like that weren't able to get to their videos, which was part of what they paid for, so it made it really problematic. Echo, turn on library.
That I have personally dealt with, and then talk about some of
The first great shadow ban, that's what it was called. Thank you. Thank you for knowing who reminded me.
I see happening across the board for YouTube content. Then you do kind of a self-check.
Echo, stop.
On the content of your video. And there are a whole series of things that you have to rate yourself on when no, this is a violation. This is something that our ad partners do not want to run ads on, so we're restricting it. So your video may stay live, but you're not going to make any money off of it. And some recent examples for me personally where this has happened is one was a 2-second clip of a tiny swastika down in the corner of the screen in a video about the Axis powers of World War II. It wasn't praising the National Socialists. It wasn't glorifying them. It was talking about, in fact, how badly they mishandled things during the war. And as part of that, it very briefly showed a tiny little swastika on a flag in an image, a larger image of other things. YouTube dinged that and said, no ads for you on that video because of that 2-second clip in a 40-minute video. Another recent one where I had this happen was with some videos I did where I was reviewing some videos from the National Archives YouTube channel. It was the ones Know Your Ally, Britain. There were 2 parts to it. And in this case, the video went past all the checks just fine and ran for about a day with no issues. And then YouTube's algorithm said, wait, there's hate speech in this video. You can't monetize it. Specifically what it was the narrator of this video on the National Archives website, produced by the government, used the 3-letter shortened version for Japanese people that was commonly used during the Second World War by American soldiers and by Americans in general. YouTube determined that that was hate speech and that I could not monetize the video because that word was used once in a 40-minute video. So there's a couple of examples. Another prominent example is anytime you do anything related to the September 11th attacks. In fact, me just saying that right now might have just demonetized this video. You literally cannot talk about that topic, even in an educational way, even in a way that just says, here's what happened, without YouTube saying, no, we can't run ads on that video. That's a sensitive topic and it can't be done. In the past, I've dealt with this, and I know my friends have as well. Things like, for example, going to Gettysburg. And if you're filming near the Rose Farm, which is where a lot of the burials took place after the battle, there are a lot of prominent photos that were taken by guys like Alexander Gardner, showing the bodies laid out, being prepared for burial. And those are on the signs at Gettysburg. And so if I'm walking around Gettysburg, and in my video I happen to show that sign that is there at the Rose Farm, that will demonetize the video, even in a historic context. So that's some of what we're dealing with. The Holocaust.
Hello everyone, my name is Mira from Gaza.
I think the politicalization of content, I guess I'd say curation. Crap, can't talk.
Comments that has led to a lot
to curation, whatever. I think that is a terrible thing. I think the politicalization of content monetization, found a way around it. I think that's terrible. And the same thing's happening over at Twitch. And I think a lot of people are betting on the wrong horse. And if the other horse wins, I think all of this is going to have to stop because politics will become legalities. And once legalities are involved and lawsuits are involved, things will change because they have to, not because people want them to. So I would change it now before it gets to that. But hey.
Conversation.
And I think that, frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if me and Trump won just the normal gay guy vote. Because, again, they just wanted to be left the hell alone. And now you have all this crazy stuff on top of it.
Okay. So that's the clip in question that's going crazy. What does it mean to be a normal gay guy? Are you saying there's abnormal gay men? CNN did this in response to it.
Know what the different where the line is between a normal gay person and a not normal gay person.
I mean, the question is.
I'm assuming.
Hold on, let me get him back on stream.
I can guess what.
You are a normal gay guy. 100%. What Trump and Vance mean by normal gay guy is you, Anderson. You are a normal gay man. That's it. You're the example. Look in the mirror. That answers your question.
What it is, like, anything related to.
It's basically anyone who's not an activist or a progressive, but is gay, is the vote that they're trying to get. So if you're not an activist and you're trans, you're a normal gay person. If you're gay and you're not an activist or a progressive, you're a normal gay person. In trans eyes, in JD Vance's eyes. That's just what he means. He's just anyone who's not on the Democratic side is normal in his eyes. So if you're not on the Democratic side, if you're not on the progressive far left, and you're gay or queer or any of the other letters, you're welcome to vote for him because he wants to win.
To drag, I guess, in that drag, wearing as much makeup as Donald Trump wears, that would be considered not normal. It's fine for Donald Trump, but on a gay guy, that wouldn't be considered normal.
The other.
I guess if that's your interpretation.
I'm 90% sure that Vance has worn makeup, so chill.
Anderson Cooper, that's fine. Thank you for letting us know what you believe to be the difference between a normal gay person and an abnormal gay person. I would say the normal gay person is the person who doesn't make being gay their entire personality and the whole basis of who they are in totality.
Is she lesbian or bisexual? I feel like she is. I feel like she's come out, right? She came out at some point, right? Even JD Vance kind of came out in his interview with Rogan.
I would say the normal gay person is the person who can be open about their sexuality, but doesn't need to dictate how everybody else thinks and feels about it, and is comfortable in themselves to where they can live throughout the world without having to push all of this LGBTQ leftist agenda on everybody. I would say the normal gay person is a person who is all about freedom of sexuality and freedom of expression, but doesn't think that 9-year-olds need to be injecting themselves with puberty blockers and signing up to have double mastectomies once their breasts grow in. I think that's what normal gay people look like. Normal gay people are probably looking at the LGBTQ plus expansion that's been taking place right now and saying, wait a second, I think we need to slow down. And while the gay rights movement and the movement between, sexual equality and being able to express oneself and have freedom of expression was necessary, maybe we've gone a little bit too far in attaching all of these other things to our community, if we can even call it that. I think a normal gay person is questioning whether or not LGBTQIA plus two-spirit even makes sense to be put together as a community. I think a normal gay person is looking at things like they, them, and neo-pronouns like.
Here's my pitch. Tell me what you think about this pitch. Here's my pitch. I go to China, and turns out me and my wife are a bad fit. I come back to America, and no hard feelings. Like we're good. We have a prenup. We have a postnup. We're fine. And I go to the church and I say, "Hey, I don't know what happened. What's up?" And they're like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It turns out your marriage was never recognized. You've been fighting for the recognition for 7 years, and we decided you guys were never married, so you don't even need an annulment. It never happened." Okay, cool. We're never married. You think Amalia would marry me? I'm kind of curious. Do I got a shot? I have an associate's in philosophy. That's a rare degree. Not too many people have one of those. I skateboard and I'm 44. And like you, I have something in common. We're both on YouTube. And I got this cool little handy dandy pendant. $6 on YouTube. It's on YouTube. On Amazon. I know how to save money. I'm just saying. And hypothetical number 2. Somehow my wife, who's an atheist and a Buddhist, although she's not a Buddhist because her mother's a Buddhist and so she doesn't like being Buddhist, whatever. My wife, who's an atheist, convinces me to be an atheist. That wouldn't happen, but let's say. And we decide to be polyamorous. And if you're part of the queer community, polyamory's in that mix of things. How about a triad? Think about it. Put it on a notepad. You can get back to me later.
Like Zer and, Starburst Self and themselves and going, I don't know if that makes sense because my sexuality dictates that I'm a man who likes other men, which actually alludes to a binary system of gender and sex. That's what I think normal gay people are thinking about. And it is no indictment.
The left has it so wrong, by the way. You have Brett Cooper. You have Amalia. You have Gothex. You have Jillian Michaels. Soon we're going to have Anna Kasparian. Like, she's coming over. You have these beautiful, intelligent, crazy smart women. Like, just incredibly intelligent women on the right. You have what? The ladies on The View on the left? I'm here all day, every day. This is who I want in my life. I want her as my best friend, want her as my girlfriend, want her as my, poker buddy. Like, this is who I want in my life. I think the left has got it wrong. You don't want people who don't care about their health, who don't care about their hygiene. You don't want the people who go to Comic-Con and don't bathe. That's not what you want. You don't want the smells. You don't want the bells. You want, you want someone who's smart, intelligent, put together, can outthink you, can help you, can actually help you solve a problem you can't solve. That's who you want in your life. That's who you want as a partner. If you're a girl, that's who you want as your partner in a man. And if you're a man, that's who you want as your partner in a wife. Someone who can help you solve the problem you can't solve. Not someone who's going to create more problems. You want someone who's going to tell you, no, you're being a jackass, stop. And that you can say that to them and they will listen. They can say it to you and you'll listen because you trust them, and you can say it to them and they'll listen because they trust you. That's what you want in a partner. This went from being a joke into being something super serious, so I'm going to hit play.
On their sexuality, as to whether or not gay marriage is something that we should be talking about and allowing in this society. It's just to say that all the other stuff that existed on the other end of it is going a little bit too far. And maybe they don't want to be lumped into these crazy movements that are harming children and creating an agenda in society that is not based in reality. And there's plenty of normal gay people out there that are raising their hands and saying, wait a second, I think we've gone too far. There are plenty of normal gay people out there that are saying, I think we've expanded this little alpha.
I think the fact that I have to kind of like rub my nose every few minutes is what's going to keep her from ever like checking me out. And I think that's a shame because I think you can get over the short thing. I think me being short, I think you're the kind of person that can get over it. I think you can see me and go, you know what? 5'7" ain't bad. 5'7's fine. I think you're the person who can look at me and say, you know what? He's got the muscles. Yeah, a little bit of a beer gut. But hey, I like beer. He likes beer. It's fine. I'm okay with 5'7". I think you're the one. I think it's me and you. I want it to be Eva Lupine. I think Eva Lupine needs someone who's tall. I think it's me and you. It's definitely not Susu. I think I'm too out of Susu's league. I look, Susu's beautiful. I think I'm better looking. No, I drank way too much yesterday, and I had a terrible show. So I want to make sure this show is a good one. That's the only thing motivating me, Thomas. Is yesterday was such a shit show. I literally deleted it in the morning, and I was like, I'm going to make up for it by doing a super secret bonus show today.
alphabet that we've created for ourselves a little bit too far. I think that's what J.D. Vance was referring to, Anderson Cooper. And it's so interesting because for so long, Republicans have been called homophobic. They've been told that they don't want anybody who's outside of heteronormativity to be a part of the party. But when J.D. Vance says, I think normal gay people are going to vote for us and they are welcome within the party, that's suddenly not an okay thing to say. But wait a second. I thought he was a homophobe. So why would he be even inviting gay people to the Republican Party in the first place? That was the rhetoric he used to use. Now, when that doesn't work anymore, you pivot, and suddenly there's a distinction between normal gay and abnormal gay, and that somehow makes him homophobic. Now we have other responses to J.D. Vance. Let's watch one.
I'm not going to get into this other clips. I think that's already good enough there. We'll go to Jillian Michaels. But just like, so the people who are right now in the Republican Party are not conservative. That's why the Republican Party seems to be shifting, is you have people like me in the Republican Party because the left doesn't want us. J.D. Vance is not conservative. Trump is not a conservative. So what's going to happen is that the normal gay and lesbian person is going to be ousted by the left because they're not extreme enough, because they have boundaries on how far some of the progressiveness can go. And they're going to be put into the conservative window. And you're going to have the conservative window shift to a more middle of the road, mainstream party. And that's going to be the new Republican Party, is going to be, the everyday lesbian, everyday bisexual, everyday trans, everyday gay person. And then all the straights and the Christians who just have nowhere else to go until they form a Christian party. That's going to be it. That's going to be the new Republican Party, because the left is just pushing everyone away with the extreme politics and with the nonsense. All right, let's go to Jillian Michaels. Jillian Michaels. And then we're going to be good for tonight. And she's beautiful. I think her workout stuff is nonsense. I think her health programs she set up were actually pretty bad. I've tried a few of them. They were not good. When I was a personal trainer, I would tell people to stay away from her programs. Buy her products. Don't buy her programs, that kind of thing. She's a good warm-up workout. Like I'm not sure if she had one on the ESPN or ESPN2. Used to have like a little workout thing in the morning. Like her workout program is fine for a warm-up, but her philosophy and her spirituality stuff, I was not into at all. I didn't like her reality show that she had for a while. But she's beautiful, she's smart, she's talented, she's rich. So yeah, no, look. Amalia is going to get all the straight guys, and Jillian's going to get all the lesbians, and all we got to do is find someone to get all the bisexual people in, and Republican Party is good for another 50 years.
With Fargo.
Oh, this ad is unskippable. How fun is that?
That's it. Thank you. And he's fighting with a conservative, but he
Cenk Uygur.
That's it. Thank you. And he's fighting with a conservative, this guy Charlie Kirk. And he's like, but you don't have any empathy. And it had to do, I believe it had to do with illegal immigration. I can't remember the exact issue, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was about. And he's saying to Charlie Kirk, you have no empathy. Like, we just want you to be empathetic. And I thought to myself, this is providing you with a moral superiority. You are the good guy because you are empathetic. You know, you have talked about how vulnerable our culture is, how vulnerable the West is, and our way of life. I see all of this, and maybe
the fact
maybe
at her age, and I'm not going to say her age but the fact that at her age, she's older than I am, and I'm 44, that she still has great arms, like good muscular arms. That is amazing. Maybe she's not as strong as she used to be, but the fact that she's still fit, that's a lot of work. That's dedication. You can't take that away from her.
not looking as broadly, because I do remember The Parasitic Mind, and I need to go back and read it, but everything I'm seeing is coming, that I find deeply offensive and scary, is coming down to this dysregulated suicidal empathy, whether it's, because I'm for immigration reform. I think the country is made of immigrants. Like, I would want the best people, get in line, let's vet you, start working, pay into the system. What can you contribute?
You know, and I kind of forgot about her. And then she did her interview with Matt Walsh, and it was a good interview. And I'm like, shit, maybe she's got skills in interviewing. So I've been watching more and more of her stuff. So far, she's doing really good. I'm really surprised. So she's not just a shill. She actually can interview. She actually has skills. So that's really cool. I'm really happy that she's like not just putting products out there, but she's like talented in like tangible ways as well, not just in the intangible product placement selling thing, you know.
Tribute. Like,
she's not a product. She can actually produce products. That sounded gross. I don't know how to say what I'm saying. Basically, I'm proud of her for actually having the skills that she said she had, but we never got to see expressed back when she was a fitness guru. Was that right? Was that good? Was that not good? Anybody?
That all makes sense to me. Chris Christie talked about this, and it made sense to me. Not nobody gets in, and not everybody gets in. Like, where's the common sense? But yet it's everybody gets in, and I think that was that guy, Sink, I can't pronounce his last name. His position was like, well, we're so empathetic. And if you're not, you're racist. That's the go-to. It's like you're racist, you're transphobe, you're a fat shamer. That's a beautiful one. But it's like, now you've got Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment buildings in Colorado. Like, wait a second. So all of these things that are happening that are wrecking chaos seem to me to be driven in large part by this dysregulated empathy. How does this stop? Does it stop when, because part of me, like, I hate to say this, but I almost hope the left loses, not because I left the left, because I genuinely feel they left me. You know, when Michelle Obama, who I loved, I mean, I loved her. And she's on the stage at the DNC talking about how we need to accept the medicalization of gender dysphoric children. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? You guys were against gay marriage back in 2008. How did you get here? Somebody needed to stop your train, homie. Like, you've dysregulated. So how do we get back from this? How does this?
Well, there are several. Yes, it's a big question. Let's take one at a time. So
okay,
let's take,
sorry.
for example,
Yep, freaking out.
Yeah, let's take immigration.
For those that don't know, she's a lesbian. She has an ex-wife. She has a current wife. She has kids with her ex-wife. Okay, just for those that don't know who are like, oh, is she a homophobe? No, she's not. She's a lesbian. Relax.
So let me link it to a specific
who fights for lesbian rights, by the way, and gay rights. So
reality in Quebec, which your viewers and listeners may not be familiar with. So it kind of hopefully offers added value. So in Quebec, where I reside, although this next year
again, these are all leftists who are now being swept up and brought into the big tent of republicanism. Conservative republicanism is not supposed to be a big tent. It's purposely supposed to be a small tent, which is why it's so hard for them to get votes. So you're lumping in people who normally wouldn't be together, and it turns out we all get along. So in a way, you're creating the utopia you want, but just not on the side that you wanted it to be on.
I'll be at Northwood University for a one-year leave. Quebec is uniquely worried about its linguistic heritage, right? Because in the context of Canada, Canada is officially a bilingual country, but it's only bilingual largely because of Quebec. Although there are other pockets of French-speaking people. There's some in Acadia, there's some in Alberta, but the great majority of French-speaking Canadians reside in Quebec, right? So that's why Quebec is called the distinct society. So because Quebecers, not the immigrant Quebecers, but the Quebecers, the French Canadians, because they are uniquely focused on preserving their language, therefore everything is viewed through the prism of we're going to die out because our language is going to die. They will institute certain policies that are too focused on this issue to the detriment of other issues. So example, I've often said it even in very public settings, and I'll repeat it here. Here is Quebec's official policy.
5 minutes over. Whenever he finishes his thought, I think we're going to go ahead and close out the show, okay?
Because there are tons of French-speaking immigrants that could come from Islamic countries, it's a great idea to let in hundreds of thousands of immigrants.
I don't know how accurate or inaccurate that is. All right, let's go to the big screen, and then we'll do the outro music. All right, so next week is election week, so we will be doing election coverage next week. Not real election coverage, chill out. But we are going to be talking about politics. We are going to be having a little bit more fun, a little less seriousness. Again, even though today's show we didn't do it, we're going to try not to cuss. We're going to try to stay monetizable and algorithm friendly, and we're going to try to grow the channel. We will get back to anti-apologetics. We will get back to debate coverage and debate reviews. I might expand my debate reviews to political debates and to non-religious debates, because my debate reviews do better than any other videos that I do. They get thousands of views, while all my other videos only get hundreds of views. So, yeah, I think I'm going to have to lean into the debate reviews. Also, I got an announcement coming in late December, early January. And that announcement is going to be big. And depending on what happens after that announcement, things could change for the channel big time. But anyway, that's all for now. I love you all. Thank you all for joining. Thomas, thank you for coming in. BS, thank you for passing by. How does everybody like my little necklace? I probably won't wear it next time, but I think it looks cool. I used to wear one like this, but as a choker when I was gothy. Yeah, it never got me a check, so it didn't work, but I like it, and that's what matters. I will talk to you all later. Let's do the outro music. Love you all. Bye. See you Monday. Ugh. No, that's wrong. Why is this not? Okay.
Watch me as I take off. I'll be working until I have all of my days off. Then I'm surfing in California when I'm paid off. I'll be blurring my vision, sipping on that la da da. Watch out, I'm coming, yeah. I know, I'm a hustler. I got me running, got me gunning for thrones. I won't go back, no pass, blow past so fast. I'm gone, grow fast, big splash, all cash. Like watch me as I take off. I'll be working until I have all of my days off. Then I'm surfing in California when I'm paid off. I'll be blurring my vision, sipping on that bass sauce. La da da, I'll be eating Kobe steak hot. La da da, got that fish sushi grade raw. La la la, I'm on vacation, I'ma stay off. La la la, now I'm taking all my days off. La da da, yeah, I'll be in the top spot, putting work in, cause I'ma be a boss, in a penthouse, jacuzzi, turn it hotter. On the roof, waiting for me is a chopper. cha-cha. I'm living in a daydream, yeah, it may seem, but I manifest this every day, see. I got things I've been working on daily, and I stack it all up to this mainstream. I got the attitude, do what I have to do to be the best in the game, got gratitude, no bad mood, just fat views, ooh. Watch me as I take off, I'll be working until I have all of my days off. Then I'm surfing in California when I'm paid off. I'll be blurring my vision, sipping on that bass sauce.